I'm here with Mick Wright-Smith, founding partner of Epsilon Direct Lending. Hello, Mick.
Hello, James. Good to be here.
Mick, launching Epsilon in October of 2020, it was such an extraordinary year from all aspects. If you had your time over again, or how would you describe the year in terms of going out into the market and launching a mid-market direct lending fund? Was it the best time, or could you have chosen it better?
Well, yes, it was a tumultuous year. First thing I'd say is that I wish we'd launched Epsilon 5 years ago, because the opportunities have been there for a while. So I'm glad we've finally done it. Last year was challenging because we had to do I'm in Melbourne. We're in lockdown for 111 days, but who's counting? But everything was on Zoom, of course, and it was challenging. And people were sitting on their hands to an extent, as the world changed in front of them. What we're finding now, James, is that people want to do stuff with their money. They've seen Australia come through the worst of COVID, and touch wood, we are through the worst. And they're ready to do something with their money. And people in particular, people who've been sitting on cash, are becoming less tolerant of that position.
Now, what sets Epsilon apart from other managers in the space, although I do understand that you do have a reasonably unique orientation?
Yeah, I'd say what sets us apart is that we are specialists. We are focused on mid-market direct lending, covering Australia. I think what also sets us apart, James, is that this is what we've been doing for a long time. So the team, we are deeply experienced in this market. We've got deep relationships in this market, and these are the things you need to structure loans where you not only get a return on your money, but you get your money returned. And so I think our focus and the team itself is what differentiates us.
Looking at credit as a sub-asset class, or even an asset class in its own right, firstly, what role do you think it plays in portfolios? What's the best role you'd like to see your users allocate to it? And just beyond that question, how's the credit market evolving generally in Australia?
Sure. First part of your question was where does it fit into a portfolio? Look, there are a wide array of credit strategies, and I think they do vary from let's call it low risk to higher risk, and the returns reflect that. And so depending on which strategy you're after will sort of answer the question of where you fit. Epsilon's strategy is to lend to performing mid-market corporates who want to borrow money to grow. And so this is a defensive strategy. So we would fit in the fixed income part of a portfolio, by and large. If people have a view towards alternatives, we'd be in the defensive part of that alternatives. So we're after companies that are pretty boring in nature, that have a track record of producing earnings year after year, and have a very sound outlook for producing those earnings in the future. So that's where we'd fit. Mm-hmm. I think the second part of your question was
just evolution of the credit market. Where do you see it going? Do you see it being adopted more widely by a more broad range of investors?
Yeah, I do, James. I think the broad comment I'd make about the credit markets in Australia is that they will grow. We've seen what's happened in the US, in the UK, and on the continent, and the evolution there has been banks have reduced their exposure to particularly corporate lending, and that slack has been taken up by investors investing through credit funds. And there are good reasons for that happening offshore, and there are good reasons for that beginning to occur in Australia, and I see that trend accelerating.
Mick Wright-Smith, thanks for your time.
Thank you, James.
Thanks.